Okay, hello everyone, and can everyone hear me clearly? Yes. Yeah, anyways, even if you had said no, I would have taken it as yes. Since you could anyways respond to my answer, my question, then it means that you are listening to me. Well, there are some strange questions like this. I mean, one question which a person can never answer straight. I mean, it's one question which you, even if you are doing, you can't say yes. That is, if I ask you, are you sleeping? You'd never be able to say yes. So several of this kind of questions keep on coming, and one very often asked question to me is, and that's also one weird question because people fail to realize something out of their sheer common sense, and that question is, how would a blind person operate a computer? And I would show how it is working and how it's supposed to work. What I'm going to share my ideas with you is about using the third brain and applying it to your daily life with complete freedom. So we already seen a nice video about the big brain, the first brain, and the left part and the right part, and we often get some kind of funny quotes like in your left brain nothing is right and in your right brain nothing is left. So that is true with one species of morons which are called ministers. So, and I had some problems with this really at some point of time. But what is the third brain? Well, that third brain is one antelope which always is hanging on my back. That is my laptop with GNU/Linux running inside, what is unfortunately but popularly known as Linux. So to me, computer is not just a commodity anymore. I mean, it might have been like that maybe 20 or 30 years back, but now to me it's no more a commodity. Well, it's more of a community now. So why I say this is because I'll give you a very beautiful example to begin with, and then I'll come to how handicapped people have benefited and how technology compensates it. There's a village in India, in the state where I stay, called Maharashtra, and there's a small village in which there was a school and there was actually no well in that village to draw water. I mean, it's a very small village, and of course, as usual, I said some morons have these brains with nothing left in the right and nothing right in the left. They had offered some computers. Well, some of the ministers are not so morons, okay? So they offered some computers to that school and some other donations from like-minded people and well-wishers. But the people started to claim, hey, what's good a computer when there is no water? Now here's what one of the mathematics teacher did in that school. He was a simple teacher, but look at his common sense and the way he used this third brain and not depend on the technology. He, they had a good internet connection, a moderately good internet connection, not so good as the broadband which we have in the metropolitan cities, but still a connection which he could use to connect to the world. And then he started the Google satellite, okay, and Wikimapia and started to scan around his village. And he found a small lake, a river stream, so to speak. And we all know, all the techies would particularly know that the satellites which take these photos are never going to change their height or their level. They are geologically stationary. I hope people would understand that. Geologically stationary as in they won't change their height. So he took the measure, the distance between that river and the satellite. He took the measurement and he got something, and then he moved and scrolled the satellite towards the school and then again took another snap and again measured the distance between the satellite and the ground to which he had snapped or clicked. And the difference between the two distances he calculated was about 14 feet. Now, simple laws of physics would tell you that the water table will either stay at the same level or at least go down. The water table generally doesn't come up, it just flows. A stream would just flow in a straight direction, okay, flat way. So he called upon the local governing body and said, okay, you can dig here, it's my bet, you dig here 14 feet and you will find the well, and that's exactly what happened. Why? Because obviously he had taken two distances from that satellite and what people referred to as a stupid commodity where there was no water, and that commodity itself fetched water for the entire village. Now that is what a third brain can do. Okay. Now, why I shared this idea? I mean, of course, I being a believer of free software, there are two angles to free software. One is free software itself and one is open source. I talk generally more of free software because it is more about valuing your freedom. I shared this idea so that people can use it, but more importantly, I shared this idea because today when you ask any individual that what kind of a culture we are living today, some would say this is a knowledge culture or knowledge society, some would say this is a communication society, some would say this is an information society. But friends, we should understand that most importantly, this is a digital society. And having said that, this is a digital society, it means all your knowledge, all your information, all your data, all your art, all your science, everything is digitized into just 2 bits of numbers which humans understand, and as 0 and 1. Because if you talk about knowledge society, well, humans, when they started to build civilizations, knowledge was the only main backbone behind building any civilization. We couldn't have built civilizations because, you know, if we don't have this knowledge sharing capability and talking language, I mean, there are elephants who are mightier than humans, and elephants have much more memory than we have. There are animals which are more agile than elephants. We already know how intelligent dolphins are. Yet, humans have something which none of the animals have, and that is the ability to share the knowledge with what is called as language. And language, mind you, is also a technology, because anything that is an extension to the human body, well, a baby just as soon as it is born won't speak any language. So this is a learnt art, and anything which is learnt or built outside the body is a technology. A stick is a technology, an axe is a technology. So people who make cynical views about why should we have computers when there are poor people around and all, it's all rubbish. Okay. So now, why technology is a boon to handicapped people, and why when we talk about technology I exclusively recommend and promote and advocate free software is because we all know this entire room is made of technology. Many of you right now, I mean, after so many speeches, and when a boring person like me is talking, might be surfing on your emails and all with Wi-Fi, and of course we are recording this digitally, and as I said, my third brain and your third brain which you use every day, this is all technology. Our mobiles are technology. The way we send letters today is technology. The way we access our money today through ATMs is a technology. And if this technology is only going to do what its developer or its instructor told it to do, then such technology is going to be very dangerous for the society. And you might be thinking, how does this really affect? We don't think it really affects. Well, just think for yourself when you go home that if one day that technology doesn't do what you want, and how often your machines crash without you knowing what actually happened, how often the viruses come into your machines, and we never know why those viruses came, although we sometimes come to know where they came from. So all these things, why today no one can hardly open a document written in WordStar or what Domino's Lotus or whatever they used to call it. Why does every now and then standards become old? Why can't we open a certain doc file written in 1995 or 97? Why can't we exactly get a complete satisfaction of a technology, and always kept on saying, oh, I wish this feature was there in the technology. Why isn't it there? And after 3 years you discover it is there, but then you have to pay more money for it, and then take it, and then you discover another feature, oh, why isn't it there? And then again be at the mercy of the developer, and they develop it. But what happens, friends, is that we take all this for granted. Okay, this is a part of technology. Why? Virus is part of technology. But this is because we don't know that alternatives exist. And why we don't know alternatives exist, not that because they are not popular. Mind you, 90% of the world's web, the internet, works on free software. Your routers contain free software. And most of the time you're using one service which of course I'm not naming, but all of you know the search engine. It runs free software. So these people have realized, NASA, they have realized, I mean, they don't want their shuttles to go up and then suddenly they are going to crash, and the only message they get is this program has performed an illegal operation. I don't know what illegal is in that. Okay, I don't want my cars to crash in and say that command not found and something like that. Okay, keyboard not found, press F1 to continue. So such technologies are always going to be restrictive. They restrict your freedom. Okay, all of you might not be coders, fine, that's perfectly okay. But at least if you have the control to open the bonnet of your car in the middle of the road, you can at least be sure that when your car crashes, it will crash someday or the other. If it doesn't, then I would never sit in your car actually. So if it crashes down the road somewhere, it fails, it doesn't work, then you should at least have the right to take it to any local garage and open the bonnet. If I give you a car and say that, okay, this bonnet will not open unless you bring it to me, so you would say, I don't want it. I would immediately ask you, are you an automobile engineer? I mean, if you are not an automobile engineer, what difference it makes if you can't open the bonnet of the car? But immediately you will say, no, I am not an automobile engineer, but perhaps I would want to take it to someone who knows it and fix it. That is exactly the case with the free and open source world, that you might not be the programmers, but you sure know that there is a transparency in the code, and that's precisely the reason why you don't get viruses and things like that. Because if some evil person puts it, there are good people who have the right to that code as well. I mean, when it is closed, evil persons would always find their way around. It's always difficult for the good people like us. So now technology has, compensated for the people who have handicap, someone like me who would not have eyes, and I'm so lucky, because if your battery lasts about 3 hours on a laptop, you give me that same laptop and I'll use for 4 hours. Guess why? Switch off the monitor, switch off the speaker, put a earphone to your ears. One thing is you're going to save battery. The other thing, I might be chatting with my girlfriend and telling my parents I'm doing some research work. So another secret to be shared. I mean, this is all about sharing ideas. So try doing this, learn the way that system works. I will be soon demonstrating that. Just let me know when it's 13 minutes, because I will at least need 2 minutes to demo it. What I would like to share is that if this is the case, why don't we start localizing such things to very, very, down the earth ideas? Something like, why shouldn't a person who can't read, forget about blind people, people who are not very literate, why shouldn't we provide them with something wherein there are a lot of images and they touch one of the images and they get whatever information they want? Let's say that, in many countries, many South American countries, in Africa, even in India to some extent, there are people who will have this kind of a disability, but they can understand pictures very well, and mind you, they are very smart, because degrees really don't help anything, So if they want some very major information about what kind of seeds they can use this year for their farming or anything like that, all that they need to do is just touch a single finger on that, and then the system will speak out. Now the technologies for such things are already available. There is a talking system which I will demo at the end. There are touch screens which are also available, which we all know, and there are ways to integrate that. What is only remaining is that when you have such good quality free softwares, freedom is based on 4 things basically when it talks about FOSS. It's about the freedom to use the software for any purpose and on n number of computers. There's no one license, one computer, because I don't want to be called as a thief if I'm reading one book in my bedroom and the same book in my hall, So the freedom to use, then the freedom to study that source code if you want and if you're interested, so you can study how the software works. The freedom to distribute copies of that software so you can help. Again, I help a neighbor in a proprietary world and I'm called a thief, a pirate. Okay? The freedom to redistribute and help people. And the 4th one, and a very important one, is the freedom to modify that, since you can study it and you can modify it, and the freedom to redistribute, of course, the modified versions of that software. Now if that is available, then sky is the limit. Just imagine how many combinations and permutations one can make out of such things. Forget about using, I know the Malaysian government has taken an initiative to switch over to free, or what they call as open source softwares. But just imagine, you can use a virus free operating system, all right, it's very user friendly. You can get back to me and I can give you a lot of videos or even personal training. I mentor a lot of students, and although I have also got similar bad experiences as one of the speakers talked about, when they don't even show up their books and all, but most often than not I'm fortunate to have good students. And just imagine that not just that you are using a virus-free system, not just that it is user-friendly, it's a matter of getting used to it. But most importantly, you can customize. If you don't like it, fine. Go ahead and either customize it yourself or throw stones at the guy who developed it. Okay? I mean, throw stones at him, don't throw the stones at his computers, because I just love computers. You know, once I was at 40,000 feet in the air, in the plane of course, and and then I asked my colleague, what if all the pilots and the air hostesses get food poison just now? He said, how dare you frighten me like this? I will die. I said, I'm more worried because if this plane crashes down, my laptop is going to break. So that's how I'm crazy about the third brain. So that's the reason I was sharing this with you, that once you have the freedom to modify, the freedom to use the software as you want, and that's exactly what you get with GNU/Linux. And GNU/Linux is no business, it's a community driven thing. Of course there are companies who do business, and that's really good. You know, no civilization, yes? 5 minutes. 5 minutes more? Thank you. So, no, there is nothing discouraging about doing business. It's just about doing the business the ethical way, not cheating people or not fooling people. And with handicapped people, unfortunately, the corporates have been cruel enough. You would get, the talking software which I use on my machine is free, it's driven by community, and it works in more languages than any proprietary software. One of those closest languages is Bahasa Indonesia, although there is no Bahasa Malaysia, which will be soon developed, I have heard now. And again, as I said, it will create new business opportunities, new job opportunities, and more and more and more opportunities for handicapped people alike, as just as you know, the sighted people as well. And there will be a time when you will be having no digital gap between those who know the technology and those who don't know. So thanks a lot. I'll just demonstrate the way this machine works for those who don't know. So thanks a lot again. The sound might just be a bit metallic, but you know, it's just like that. Today I don't understand Bahasa Malaysia much, and I might say that Bahasa Malaysia is difficult, but you'll say, hey, what are you talking? I mean, Bahasa Malaysia is so easy, Hindi is so difficult. Yeah, so it's all about learning. So those who feel that, you know, GNU/Linux is so difficult, it's not that. And if a person like me can use it, you know, with one sense less, why can't others do it? I mean, okay, it's booting. It will give the sound of the African drums very soon. Yeah, there it is. And the moment it starts, it will start on a software called Orca. It will soon say that.
Welcome to Orca.
There it is.
MP underline guest connection established.
Okay, it tells me that the wireless connection is established. It told me that. Just a quick look at what the software can do. I'm going to open the applications menu for those of you who know how GNU/Linux and GNOME desktop works. It will immediately tell me that there's a menu out here, which means it doesn't just tell me about the text, it also tells me about the attributes of the text. Here it goes.
Top expanded edge panel frame applications menu.
Okay, it's just not said applications, it told me applications menu.
Accessories menu.
Okay, it says, okay, very good, thank you. Accessories menu.
Games menu. Graphics menu. Internet menu. Office menu.
Okay, the moment it says menu, I know that there's a sub menu to it. I have to open it, so I'll just do that.
Dictionary. Open Office not on word processor.
Let's say I open this
menu.
Let's see. It will take hardly any time to open, thanks to the good healthiness of this laptop. That is the reason I care for it so much.
Untitled 1-open office not on writer frame blank.
Okay, it said untitled 1 openoFfice.org, which means I can type. Let's say that I want to make a heading for this document. So all I have to do is use the common key command which any OpenOffice user would use, and Orca will just you know, tell me the change of the status. Okay, if I
line left on. Paragraph time colon default organizer page name reader.
Okay, I must have done something wrong. So
centered on.
Okay, it said centered on, which means that whatever I type now would be centered. If I can even switch on the bold, it will immediately tell me that it's bold on. So it keeps on instructing me like a personal secretary that
bold on.
There it is. So
is a test docu for Orca and GNU Linux.
Okay, now this is how it works, and if I have to go to the menu again, it will.
File menu. Open Office not on 3.0. The document quote untitled 1 quote has been modified. Do you want to save your changes? Save button.
Okay, it even tells me the pop-up messages. So, but just before, okay, that's it. That is how it works basically. Just before I sign off, a small incident, okay. The way I came into this industry was very strange. I was just 12 years old and I went to US all alone because my parents wanted me to be self-reliant that time. And I saw a first talking machine, a talking typewriter, and I realized that computers are not so difficult. Then I started to read and read and read and more read, and then suddenly I realized that computers are nothing but a tool in which you can represent your ideas through some kind of a language which actually comes down to 0 and 1. So if you can do that, it doesn't need eyes. And that is how I convinced my computer institute. They were not ready to take me in. I just told them, just imagine what is the richest person of this world selling today. I mean, that time Bill Gates was the richest person. So what does he sell? Does he sell aeroplanes? Does he sell cars or ships or what? They said, we don't know, it's software. I said, means what does he exactly sell? So they couldn't answer me. I said, he sells ideas. And you see, ideas don't need any eyes to visualize it. And then I went in, I had no screen reader at that time. I said, okay, bring in your lab assistant and let him see what I'm doing. So I started to type on the keyboard and suddenly I made a mistake deliberately. Immediately that person was looking over my shoulder. He said, come on, you made a mistake, sir. I said, yes, there you are. Which means there is always some person in your technical lab, and although I don't have a screen reader, I would certainly have someone to read it out for me. And if you can point out my mistakes, well, that's all I want. I mean, you just have to tell me that I made a spelling mistake. Rest I can handle. And after that, I got into this IT world, and here I am today, and it's very good to share my ideas, and I hope all will realize the freedom of technology one day. Thanks a lot.